I hope you'll stay for the end of this video. I've got a bit of a proposition for you later on. I don't do a lot of Minecraft content on the channel, but if you do enjoy this content, well, be sure to let me know in the comments below. It's the only way I know to keep creating Minecraft content like this. And what I wanted to show you today in this video is honestly quite special in my opinion, because I was somebody who was very hyped for the idea of a sort of birch biome revamp. What else should I call it, you know? However, I wasn't excited for it necessarily for the birch trees themselves. We have plenty of biomes with those, but rather as a sort of hybrid between a forest, whether it's densely packed or sparse, or of various different variants, and a jungle and also a flower forest. You'll notice that what I have in front of me here is quite special, but not on the surface. Let's go ahead and take a look at what I'm calling the ephemeral forest. This is all made in vanilla Minecraft, just with a couple of commands to make a couple of things, because this was actually made before 1.19, 1.20, but I have gone back in to change a couple of things since then. First things first, you'll notice probably the thing that stands out the most about this biome. It's bright. It's lit up. There's glow lichen nearly everywhere, which this was done before the changes to how lighting affected spawn rates, but I actually really like this idea. Though mobs can definitely spawn in this biome, the lighting is going to keep that spawn rate down, at least on the surface, and so it gives you a sort of safer place to exist. And I think that's really important for this biome because in and of itself, it's a relaxing biome to exist in. You'll also notice, like a flower forest, there are a lot of different flower types here, but there's something kind of peculiar about them. They're all in the sort of cool to maybe like mid-warm tone, very spring, summer-like colors, but there's no reds or orange flowers or anything like that. In fact, you're very hard-pressed to find really anything red or orange outside of what I'm calling the orange wood shroom, although really this is just a slab with some command blocks shenanigans going on. What I really like about this is this actually mimics, at least where I live, a lot of the flowers that I see in early spring. This is a springtime forest after all, and where I live, many of the flowers that come out early in the year, taking advantage of the leafless trees before they've sort of leafed out, are these sort of cool tones, pinks, yellows, light blues, lavenders, whites, etc. And so I wanted to make sure to carry that over, and I think it helps to give just a very cool feeling to it. Now, I don't mean that as a pun, but I mean like, you know, we're on the edge of winter here, right? We're just coming out of it. And having these cooler colored flowers show up, this birch wood, these fallen logs, again, the wood shrooms, etc., showing up, I think is honestly truly special. Probably the most special thing about this biome is there's a few. Let me talk about them. So first things first, you can see that there are 4 different tree types in this biome. There are oak trees, there are birch trees, most of them tall, but a handful of short ones, but also what I'm calling the ebony tree. This is a brand new tree type that would be exclusive to this biome, and it would have a sort of warm black to gray tone wood. I haven't decided exactly where I'd want to see it yet, but it's a wood type we don't have, and yet there's so much gray elsewhere in the game. I think it's perfectly fine to have more gray. It's a very useful color, but as a wood, it gives you a lot of special sort of properties, right? Fences and doors and things like that. It's also worth noting, though, we have bamboo here as well, which obviously we now know can contribute to bamboo planks. So you get that wood type or plank type, whatever you want to call it, as well. The next thing you'll see here, which has now been replaced by the pink petals, but before those existed, was what I was calling the flower carpet. This was an idea that I had for a while, basically since moss carpet was a thing, and the idea is that this is kind of like moss carpet, where you place it on the ground, but it has different types of petals, depending on what variant you have, maybe 16 or so different variants, and then, you know, you could match the different types of dyes, maybe even process them into dye. Now that we have pink petals, I actually kind of like the pink petal idea better. More colors of this, maybe whites, blues, yellows, etc. for a biome like this, so that you can get a little more variation out of it. But the idea of being able to place multiple of them per block, kind of like sea pickles, or like I would do with the wood shrooms as well, is really quite lovely and gives you a lot of control and helps to sort of break out of the voxel-like world that Minecraft is. You can also see that we have the cherry grove blossoms here as well. And something else special, another special thing about this biome, is a new water feature. This would appear in other biomes too, but it'd be probably most common here, and it's what I call a creek. So the idea is that this is a fairly narrow water structure, but I'd like it to be wide enough for maybe a boat to be able to travel through, because in my ideal update, there are 3 versions of this biome. The version we're in right now is the dense version, trees relatively close together. There'd be a sparse version, kind of like sparse jungle, where the trees are a little further apart, maybe more flowers, more grass, etc. And then there'd be a boat focused variant. This is something I wanted to see ever since we got the mangrove swamp as an idea. I was really hoping that the mangrove swamp was going to be a biome that was focused around traversing it via a boat or by water. But unfortunately, that's just not the case. In fact, it's kind of a hellscape to try to travel through. So seeing a version of it where maybe like rivers kind of sprawl through it or creeks sprawl through it would be really lovely. And this is obviously an idea I wanted to see here as well. You'll notice that there are other things around this creek that you don't see in the rest of the biome. For one thing, the lily of the valley is around here, but you've also got the ferns, which don't exist elsewhere in the biome. You've got the large drip leaf plants, etc. You've got cod, of course, because some kind of fish would be making sense. And I think overall there's something just very special about that. But there's more special things as we get over here. You can start to see the spore blossom particles, because the spore blossoms exist in the biome as well, but they're hidden this time. They're actually built into the walls of the biome. You don't see the blossoms. I think they're perfectly fine to have and even have visible, but they just feel a little out of place for a biome like this. Also, lots of beehives. This is a flower forest variant, and probably my favorite feature, which is very subdued, very easy to overlook, is this one right here, the moss vein. It's kind of like the calcite veins for mountains, but instead with moss blocks for the most part, as well as moss carpet, grass, other flower types, and the occasional azalea leaf block or flower block poking through it as well. You'll also see there's a buffer layer between the stone and the moss of mossy cobblestone, just to really help sort of break up that monotony and then that stark difference of color, give you something a little extra to look at visually, especially against cliff sides. And of course, a source of moss cobblestone is always appreciated. Overall, I think this biome is really quite special. You can see we've got wolves, we've got birds, we got frogs, we got, like chickens and sheep, whatever is all fine here. It's just something very lovely about this. And that proposition that I was talking about was, I would like to actually create this in survival Minecraft. There are a couple things I won't be able to do because they don't exist, like the flower carpets or the orange wood shrooms, whatever. But being able to create this as closely as possible, to recreate this or versions of it in my survival world, would be really fun. If that's something you guys want to see, again, let me know down in the comments. But we're not done with the video yet, because this is an ephemeral forest. This is the springtime biome. But that also kind of implies a fall biome, right? An autumnal forest. Well, that's exactly what I want to show you over here. Now, again, this is all made in vanilla Minecraft, so there are no like yellow or orange leaves or anything here. That is something I'd like to see, because there's another tree type that's exclusive to this biome, and we'll talk about that in a moment. But you can also see that we've got something else special here. White pumpkins. At least here, they're just glass and pumpkin stacked command block shenanigans again. But I think that'd be really special. They function the same way as orange pumpkins do. There's nothing different, except maybe the carving would be a skull shape or a ghost shape instead of the traditional pumpkin carving that we get. But otherwise, it functions basically the same. And it's exclusive to this biome. In fact, you see we also have leaves around it. This is a pumpkin patch, not just a spread of pumpkins like plains biomes and savanna biomes and things have, but an actual patch with leaves, with plant life. This biome also has a lot of flowers, but now we're focusing a lot more on warm sort of russet tones, right? Reds, yellows again, whites, tans, and you can even see that we have the crimson fungus in the biome as well, which I think is perfectly fine to actually have in the overworld. You can't grow it without the crimson nylium or whatever that block is called anyway. So it's not like you'd make a tree out of this, but having it appear in the overworld actually helps to lend to this biome's atmosphere, in my opinion. You can even see we also have this red grass, kind of similar to the blue grass that we had over in the ephemeral forest, and I'd love these to be their own thing. But I'd be perfectly fine with the nether versions showing up here. They have no use currently in the game. They're just decorative, and I'm fine with them showing up in the overworld. But obviously, they're more common in the nether since, well, they appear in more biomes. In the overworld, they're exclusive to here. You have tan wood shrooms, a little different than orange. They basically function the same, but they can be processed into tan dye, because why do we not have tan dye in Minecraft yet? And the other very special thing about this biome in particular is this right here, the ginkgo tree. Now, obviously, this is just made with azalea leaves, and you can see it kind of has a teardrop shape. I wanted the trees to look different than other trees that currently exist. The ebony tree was by far the widest tree of its size, but fairly short. This one here, obviously very teardrop shaped with a lot of leaves, so maybe it has a lower drop rate for its saplings, like jungle saplings drop less often than others. That'd be kind of cool here, and maybe you could even have a tall variant of this. I'd be perfectly fine with that. Ideally, this would not have green leaves like this, but it would have maybe chartreuse, golden yellow, or very warm green tones. I would love that. And it would go a long way towards making this biome feel very fall-like, because currently, again, there are no red or orange leaves in Minecraft, and I'm fine with keeping it that way, but having something unique like this would be really effective. This biome is a mesa biome, which helps to give me this sort of cool brownish green kind of colored grass and colored leaves, which I think also helps the biome feel a lot like fall. But there's one other thing that feels like fall with this biome. You'll notice we don't have any barren trees. None of these trees have dropped their leaves or are empty, and I'm perfectly fine with that. We don't currently have that in the game. I think it'd feel a little weird and disjointed if we did. But something that helps to give the illusion of this biome being fall-like is that there are a lot of trees, but they're sparse, they're spread out, and they're fairly tall. It helps to shrink your character. You actually physically feel like you're smaller than you actually are in a biome like this. And that goes a long way towards making it feel like maybe the trees aren't losing their leaves, but you can see the trees, but you see them more for the wood that they have, right? Much like if you're really going outside and hiking through the woods in the fall or in the winter. No leaves to look at, but lots of wood, lots of branches. And this helps you to really see that. Another thing that helps you to see that is the large oak trees, many of them in this biome. And in terms of the mobs in the biome as well, you can see we have foxes. We also have bats that appear in this biome, the only surface biome that they would appear in. And you can also see that we have another water feature. This time, not a creek, but a stream, or whatever you want to call it. Now, this time around, it has waterlogged leaves in it, leaf litter, whatever you want to call it. That just helps you to feel like, there are leaves falling from these trees into the water. And in fact, a really cool thing about the ginkgo tree would be, what if it had the particle effect kind of like the cherry blossoms, but instead of dropping flower blossoms, because I don't think ginkgos actually have flowers, what if it dropped leaf particles, little yellow or green or orange, whatever the color you want them to be, little particles like that, just to really help this biome feel a lot more like fall. And it's worth noting too that if you've never seen a ginkgo in the fall time, they get so lovely in their color, very golden yellow, very lovely. You can also see we have the small dripstone or drip leaves in this biome here, and we have salmon instead of cod in this river. We also have seagrass this time around, which I think just helps to sort of fill out the biome a little bit more, give it a little bit more life. We have fallen logs here, much like we do in the ephemeral biome. I'd be fine with these appearing in all forest biomes, but being more common in biomes like this one and like the ephemeral forest, right? The more dense biomes would have more of the fallen logs, and again, more pumpkin patches, things like that. So overall, this biome is pretty well covered. It's a fairly straightforward biome. It's got the podzol, it's got the grass. And over here towards the edge, we have a river variant of this biome. As you can see, kind of what I was going for here. A biome that's easy to travel through via boat if you want to. You can see we've got the roots to give a little bit more life to the biome as well. And we've got a lot of the leaves off to the side, a lot of leaf litter, a lot of the drip leaf plants. This is kind of like that stream, just amplified. Something else you'll notice, a lot of tall grass around the streams here, but not so much of the tall grass in the biome itself. It's like the ferns in the ephemeral forest. And obviously this doesn't look super natural with the just being a flat wall here, but hopefully you can look past that. I just really love the idea of these variants of biomes, right? I don't think that every biome needs to have a million different variants, otherwise getting those achievements for traveling all the biomes would be near impossible. Just like how jungles have the sparse jungles, how savannas have like the windswept savannas, things like that. Having one or two variants of special biomes like this, I think it would go a long way towards making the game feel very lived in and very different. The other thing that I almost forgot, because it's very easy to overlook, is, again, the leaf litter. Very similar to that flower petal or flower carpet idea that I had, but this time without flowers. Instead, matching or roughly matching the different types of trees in the game. There'd be a few different types of these blocks, not just one, and they'd be like a carpet, right? They're a little layer on top of a block, whatever the case may be. And you'd have maybe a version for spruce, maybe a version for oak, and maybe a version for like birch, or whatever the case. Overall, I'm pretty happy with this one. If you guys did enjoy this content, again, be sure to subscribe. It helps the channel immensely. You have no idea. And it's the best way you can say thank you. There's more in this world too. So if you want to kind of play around in this world and just kind of explore, I did build all this by hand, so it took a little bit of time, and I have talked about it in previous videos, but hopefully this video goes a little more in depth. If you want to see this, then go ahead and check out my Discord, which this will be linked in the gaming channel. It's not really a Discord for Minecraft, but again, if you guys enjoy it, then yeah, I'll be happy to post more content like this in those places in Discord and etc. Hopefully you guys have a great day and stay healthy. See ya.